All right, let's just dive right in. We all know that large language models like ChatGPT are, unbelievably powerful. But what if you could give them a direct line to the real world, a way to tap into live, up to the second data? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. OpenAI's function calling. But first, to really get why this is such a big deal, we have to understand the core problem. See, at their heart, even the smartest AIs today have this fundamental reality problem. They know a ton, but they're also totally cut off from the real live world. And that disconnect, that's what leads to this question. And if you're a developer who's ever used an LLM, I know you've asked this. You ask for something simple, like a stock price, and you get an answer that sounds confident, but it's just plain wrong. We have a name for that, right? It's called hallucination. And the reason why is actually pretty simple. The AI's entire universe is just the data it was trained on. Think of it like a giant static library. It knows everything that was in its books up to a certain date, but it has absolutely no idea what happened 5 minutes ago. It's basically living in the past, sealed inside this data bubble. And this slide just perfectly illustrates the difference. On the left, you get the classic bubble answer. The AI makes a plausible but totally useless guess based on old info. But on the right, that's what happens when you burst the bubble. You get a precise, accurate, real-time answer. So the question is, how do we get there? Well, we get there with a feature that is, and I'm not exaggerating, a total game changer for developers. It's called function calling, and it is the elegant fix to this entire problem. So what is it really? The best way to think about it is as a bridge. It lets the LLM, which is stuck inside its data bubble, recognize when it needs outside help. It can then intelligently ask to use one of your external tools, say a weather API or a stock market database, to go fetch the live data it needs to give you a real answer. And that right there is the whole point. By building this bridge, you stop dealing with plausible-sounding fiction, and you start getting verifiable facts. You get real data, which means you get no more hallucinations. Now, I know this might sound complicated, but the process is actually incredibly straightforward. Let's just walk through how it works in 4 really simple steps. Think of it like a 4-step dance. First, you, the developer, describe your tools to the AI. Hey, here's a function that can get the weather. Second, a user asks a question that needs that tool. Third, and this is where the magic happens, the AI analyzes the question, picks your weather function, and generates the exact JSON parameters needed to run it. And finally, and this part's really important, your application takes that JSON, makes the real API call, and feeds the live data back to the AI. Your code always stays in control. Okay, theory is great and all, but let's see what this actually looks like in practice. We're going to check out how this works with 3 different APIs. And the best part is they all have really generous free tiers, so you can start playing with this stuff today. First up, let's tackle one of the most common things you'd want real-time info for: livestock data. For this, we'll use the Market Stack API. So check this out. A user asks a totally normal conversational question. Now, instead of guessing, the AI understands the intent and generates this beautiful, clean JSON object. It figures out that Apple is the symbol AAPL, and yesterday is a specific date. Your code then takes this, calls the Market Stack API, and gets the exact correct closing price. It's just so clean. All right, let's keep it rolling. Next up, another classic use case, getting a weather forecast. We'll use the Weather Stack API for this one. So the user asks a very human question, right? Will it rain in Seattle tomorrow? The model itself doesn't know, but it knows exactly how to find out. It correctly pulls out Seattle as the location and understands tomorrow means a 1-day forecast. It builds the JSON and lets your app fetch the actual probability of rain. And you didn't have to write some crazy complex prompt to do it. Okay, one last example. And this one really shows you the power of connecting your AI to these specialized real-time systems. Let's talk flight tracking with the Aviation Stack API. The query is super direct. What's the status of flight BA456? And bam, the AI instantly identifies the flight number, structures it perfectly as the required parameter, and your application can now pull everything: the real-time status, any delays, the gate, the estimated time of arrival. You've just gone from a static knowledge base to a dynamic, interactive tool. So when you step back and look at all this, function calling isn't just another cool feature. For any developer building with AI, this is genuinely a new superpower. Let's just quickly recap the big takeaways. First, and most importantly, it stops hallucinations by grounding your AI in cold hard facts. You don't need to be a prompt engineering wizard to make it work. For us developers, you get clean, structured JSON back, which is just a dream to work with in your code. You can connect to pretty much any external tool you can think of. And, like we saw, you can start building with some seriously powerful APIs for free. This quote here really just nails it. It says it all. Function calling converts static LLMs into dynamic systems. You're no longer just talking to a static encyclopedia that's stuck in the past. You are now interacting with a dynamic system that can actually do things. It can act, it can fetch, and it can respond with live information from the world around it. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. Once you give your AI the ability to talk to any API, any database, any service out there, the possibilities just become, well, almost limitless. So the real question isn't what it can do, it's what will you build?